This is Ray.
This is Andy.
And this is FDS CFL Season 3, Andy. Episode 10.
Episode 10. What a bad week in the CFL Week 8 was, Ray. Wow, we're going to get into it big time. Before we do that, I had a lot of the product of our sponsor this weekend just trying to watch some of these games. If you're having a hard time getting through a CFL game or watching yourself go basically 0-4 in the Pickems, go get yourself a Moose Light. Why, Ray?
Because it's scary good.
Scary good. It'll help. And if you need a shirt with a logo or a hat with a logo, go see our buddies, the Doyles at Doyle Corporate Image.
Doyle's Corporate Image.
Because the Doyles
rule.
They rule. All right, let's talk about these awful games. So Thursday, Winnipeg goes into Toronto. It was my lock of the week. You definitely picked Winnipeg to win as well. My guy, Ron Burgundy, puts the team on his back. While Zach Caleros is there breathing down his neck, right?
Yep.
Listen, I don't think that's a coincidence. And throws that clutch touchdown at the end of the game to put them in position for the extra point to get the win. Winnipeg drops 2 in a row, Ray. You can't spell win without a W, and the W is missing in Winnipeg right now. Are you worried about your big W? I noticed you're not wearing the Bombers hat today.
No, but I still have some Bombers blue on me. But listen, 2 games in a row they lose. Now, I don't know if you know about this, but they stayed at Guelph University on this road trip. They didn't go back to Winnipeg in between.
Didn't know that.
Yep. So, listen, I'm going to talk about the CFL season in a few minutes. They've dropped 2, a game they should never have lost against Toronto, but it was a long 2 weeks for this team, and there's lots of football left to go in this season.
Fair enough. All right, the next game, Hamilton goes to Saskatchewan. The Ticats really couldn't hang without their best player in Brandon Banks and several other key players. Dane Evans looked all right, honestly. You know, they went on the road. They played a really good team, and I'll talk to you later about how good I think they really are.
Yeah.
So I definitely am not writing off Hamilton. I think that they're going to figure out a way to come together with Dane Evans. The Saskatchewan and Cody Fajardo, 3-game win streak now. They take care of Hamilton, 24-19. I was impressed. Did you get a chance to see that one?
I did get to see this game. And listen, Dane Evans is exactly who I told you that he is. He's a backup quarterback at best. I realized they lost Banks too, which didn't help. The only thing that kept him in this game is essentially he's playing another backup quarterback in Cody Fajardo.
I don't know. Wow.
There you go.
We'll see. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Oh, the next game, Ottawa and Montreal. The Owls, they couldn't close out the game after Vernon Adams Jr. goes down, takes a headshot. I don't think it was a dirty hit.
In the third quarter, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a dirty hit, but let me tell you, Adams took way too many shots in this game. He put his body on the line way too much. It was working, though.
Yeah.
Pipkin had to come in and just couldn't get it done. Ray, you've been saying the road to the Grey Cup in the East goes through Montreal. When you can't beat a team like Ottawa, I don't know. Are you still feeling good about that statement?
I do. Listen, they had a couple fluke touchdowns scored against them. The returns by Devontae Dedman there gets two touchdowns on returns. Those are, you're going to see those once in a while, but those are fluke touchdowns. They just couldn't get, every time they made 3 steps to get ahead, Ottawa would come back with one of these touchdowns.
Yep.
I'm not overly concerned about this. I told you my biggest concern for Montreal was them getting a bye week in the middle of a 3-game winning streak, and how would they come out and handle a game after that bye week after 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Listen, the bye week bit them.
I guess so. I think they would have won. Have Adam stayed in, though. Again, that's just an opinion at this point. And I took a flyer on Dedman in fantasy. So we're gonna be talking about my fantasy squad. It's the only positive thing I have to talk about.
Nice.
Edmonton goes to Calgary. We both picked Edmonton to take care of business on the road here, but Calgary actually comes out on top 24-18. Harris, your buddy Trevor Harris, former bro, former friend. I don't know what you guys even are at this point. He was held to 78 yards in the first half. He bounced back big in the second half until Terry Williams absolutely kills the whole thing with a 103-yard touchdown return, kickoff return. Listen, man, the CFL setting records now. That's the 8th kickoff return so far this season. It was a killer for Trevor Harris.
Yeah. Who?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Listen, there was no Greg Ellingson in this game, which is his go-to target. But my biggest question about Edmonton right now, and I'm going to talk about Trevor Harris in a few minutes, but what's going on with CJ Gable? This guy was a dominating, bruising back, similar to... he's the only guy I would even put in the same class as Harris from Winnipeg, Andrew Harris. But CJ Gable just has, since week 3 of this season, he just has not looked like that dominating back that he is.
Yeah, it really feels like they won't commit to the run at all. Like
no.
they really run away from it.
They get off it as quick as possible.
Exactly. Like at the moment a couple of runs don't go for big gains, they just kind of give up on it, it seems. So anyway, those were the games. Oh my gosh, what are you taking and leaving this week, Ray?
I've got a few takes. My first take is, listen, there's a lot of people on social media, and I see it especially over our power rankings. They're really making a big deal over the fact that Winnipeg has lost these 2 games. And again, I don't know if they know the fact that they stayed, and made it a 2-week road trip. Well, not sure.
I just don't think that they're wanting to use excuses.
Here's the biggest thing about the CFL, Andy. Unlike any other league.
The biggest thing.
All right? Unlike any other league, the one thing about the CFL is there's plenty of time to rebound in the CFL.
Tons.
Every single team is still in the playoff race, except for maybe BC.
Maybe, yeah. Toronto could win the East.
Right? Anything can happen. and my biggest thing about, as I sat down and I was thinking about what my takes are this week, and I don't know if this is a take or leave it, but the CFL season, Andy, it's way too long. Way too long.
Yeah.
Let me just give you some examples. It's the longest league in pro football or any type of football in North America.
Okay.
It's a 9-team league, okay? And they have 21 weeks of regular season.
Now, a 10th team will cut down on the number of weeks. But are you still saying the 18 games you feel is too long?
It's a long season.
Well, then we definitely want to discourage the NFL from this 18-game talk.
The NFL, 17 weeks for 32 teams.
Yep.
The XFL and the AFL experiments, okay? 8 teams, it's a 10-week regular season.
Yeah.
Different. Even the Maritime Football League, the MFL, is a 6-team league with 6 weeks of playing.
Yeah.
So 21 weeks is a very long season for a 9-team league. And how many times have we heard as new CFL fans, the CFL season doesn't start till Labor Day? We've heard this term, right?
That is true.
And listen, as I sit and I look at the schedule and the games coming up, although this is a big week, we'll talk about that in a second, maybe the CFL season really doesn't really kick into gear until Labor Day.
I think that's true. And I also agree with you. I, too, am not sure whether that was a take it or a leave it. That sounded more like a rant than anything.
I don't know, but that's where I stand on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They've lost 2 games. I'm sticking with the Blue Bombers.
So he's taking the Blue Bombers.
And right. There you go.
Okay.
My leave it, Andy.
Your leave it. Okay.
Who is that quarterback from Edmonton again?
Yeah, okay. Your bro.
Who?
Anyways.
Trevor Harris.
Let's hear it. You're leaving?
Trevor Harris. I'm leaving him right now, and I'll tell you why. I don't know what has happened to Trevor Harris since the last 3 starts of this season. Now, if you remember last year, if you remember last year, Trevor Harris had a big slump for the Red Blacks last year, and then he bounced back after Labor Day and led the Ottawa Red Blacks to the Grey Cup. Okay?
Yeah.
Right now, when I'm watching Trevor Harris, he looks gun-shy. He's afraid to put the ball downfield. He's afraid to take those shots he was taking in week 2 and week 3 of the season, right? It's almost like he's got the yips. Have you ever had the yips in golf?
I've never not had them.
You've never not had them?
I don't know what they feel like. That's the regular swing, right?
That's hilarious. But In golf, they say that amateur golfers, one of the toughest things to fix is the chipping yips. Yeah. It's almost like you can never get rid of the chipping yips. Okay. And I've experienced that. But Trevor Harris right now has some kind of yip that's affecting his game on the field. And he's got a big game against Ottawa this week, and it will be really interesting to see if he can shake the yips, stop being gun shy, and put the ball downfield like you were doing earlier in this season. I want to be your brother again.
You heard it, Trevor. You got to shake the yips. Shake the downfield yips.
There you go.
All right. Well, you alluded to...
But I will tell you this. I just want to say this. I'm picking on Trevor Harris right now, but I have to tell you, Andy, I don't care what team we're talking about. Mm-hmm. The quarterback play in the CFL right now is not something to write home about.
No.
It's not.
No.
And listen, the CFL is a great football league. I love it. I can't wait to be a Schooner season ticket holder and get to every single one of these games. But these CFL general managers, they have got to do a better job of bringing talent into these teams so that the coaching staffs can develop these quarterbacks to be stars, not guys that are not... I don't want to see... And we talk about punting being a play in the CFL.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a series of punt, 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 punt. I want to see some points put on the board. All and right. You only do that by throwing the ball downfield. There you go.
Okay. All right. So that was Ray's rant. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Week 8 edition here. You alluded to our power rankings a little while ago. We are taking flack for different reasons. I'm getting nailed this week. And I have to explain myself. So I'm going to start with my power rankings, and I'll run through and explain my thinking. Calgary is number 1 this week at 5-2. I didn't like putting Calgary number 1, but no other team actually made any sense, really. No. Now, number 2 is where things get interesting. I have the Rough Riders at number 2. Now, even Rider fans, a couple of Rider fans have reached out and said, it's not time for the Riders to be ahead of Winnipeg and or Edmonton just yet. Now, I disagree. I definitely think they should be ahead of Edmonton. I think Edmonton is right where they need to be. But me having Saskatchewan at number 2 and Winnipeg at number 3, it's a combination of two things. It's number 1, I think Saskatchewan deserves more love than they're getting. I'll touch on that in a second. And number 2, I feel as though Winnipeg deserved a pretty steep punishment this week in the power rankings. So let me go through these one after the other. Saskatchewan, currently on a 3-game win streak. Yes, 2 of those wins were against BC. It's still a 3-game win streak. But let's look at what they've done.
And Hamilton with a backup quarterback.
Well, let's look at what they've done.
No Brandon Banks.
Since the beginning of the season. So the first game of the season, they played what I thought was the best team in the CFL, a fully powered, fully healthy Hamilton Ticats, and barely lost to them. Okay? They lose Zach Collaros at the beginning of the game. Fajardo comes in. He's not ready to be the starter. And he actually keeps them in that game right till the end. The next week, they face Dominic Davis in an absolute out-of-body experience, and they lose to Ottawa 43-40. The fact that Fajardo put up 40 points, I'm not putting that loss on him. Then they had a stinker against Calgary, which is going to happen to anybody, and Calgary's number 1 on the list. But since then, they've won 3 out of 4. They're rolling. They're coming together. They're gelling behind their new young quarterback. He's definitely not their backup quarterback anymore. You can continue to call him a backup quarterback if you want. Look at the numbers. He's impressive. They deserve some love. Now, part 2 of this, the Bombers, Ray. So the Bombers losing to the Argos. I know everything's week to week in this league and we forget things, pretty quickly, but I cannot forget all of the things that we and everybody else who watches the CFL have been saying about the Toronto Argonauts for the last 7 weeks. They were the absolute dumpster fire of the league. Losing to them deserves some very steep punishment based on the regard that we've held them into. But that was their second loss in a row. Let me talk about the one before. They lost to Hamilton when Hamilton lost their starting quarterback in the first quarter. The deficit was only 14 points. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with the best defense in the league, according to you, Ray, and at the time, one of the hottest offenses in the league, had 3 entire quarters to make up a 14-point deficit against a complete backup quarterback who was not ready to play, and they didn't do it. So, Those two things combined told me Winnipeg needed a steeper drop than just one spot from 1 down to 2. I had to move them to 3. I had to figure out what team deserved to be at 2, and the only case that I could make was the Saskatchewan Roughriders. That's my reasoning. Edmonton goes to 4. Ticats go to 5. Again, they impressed me on the road and how they played with Dane Evans. I couldn't stomach a steeper drop than from 2 to 5 for them. But we'll see where things go from here. Montreal drops to 6. I think they would have won that game had Adam stayed in it. But you know what? They need to be able to pull that out, especially against a team that I've called garbage like Ottawa with Pickem. They couldn't do it. Ottawa stays at number 7 because I still think they're garbage. And, man, I feel bad saying that so much for Blacks fans, but I'm not sold. Toronto jumps from 8 to 9 because they beat the number 1 team in the league. You got to give them something. Yep. And BC goes right to the basement where we've been wanting to put them, to be honest with you.
Right.
That's my explanation. That's the best I can say. And, you know, I know you had a hard time this week too. You basically had to, you know, call in help for your power rankings.
I farmed out my power rankings this week, Andy. I went to social media. I went to Let's Talk CFL Facebook group and said, guys, I need some help because it was the first time of ever doing power rankings. I couldn't tell you who the number 1 team was in this league. I want to drop Winnipeg as well, even though I still believe they're the best team in the CFL. They just had a couple rough weeks. But I do not feel good about putting Calgary first overall in this league right now. I just don't. If Bo Levi Mitchell was back on Thursday, I'd feel good about it. But I don't know that for sure yet.
Okay.
Anyways, Calgary gets it because they've won 3 in a row. That's why they're on top. I'm keeping my Blue Bombers there because, listen, I want to ask you this, Andy. Do you think the Toronto Argonauts would have gone winless in 2019?
No, I don't believe any team in the CFL could go winless.
No, I don't think so either. Because any team that goes winless is a joke of a franchise, and that doesn't happen in the CFL. So that's Winnipeg overlooked a game. And listen, I'm keeping them up there, but Toronto moves because of that as well. I've been wanting to get Toronto out of the basement. This is my opportunity to come out of the basement. Edmonton, I kept them at 3rd. Their defense, their overall weapons on this team. Harris is holding this team back right now. But again, I have a lot of negative comments right now about the quarterback play in the CFL, and I still believe Trevor Harris is a better quarterback than Cody Fajardo, and that's why I got Harris and the Edmonton Eskimos in 3rd and Saskatchewan Roughriders at 4. Montreal's at 5. Really sucks that Adams got hurt.
Yeah,
I was hoping that Montreal would win this week and they'd go to number 1 overall for me.
Yeah.
They're still my Touchdown Atlantic team. But you see I get a lot of flack over Hamilton at 7. I made this pick last week, Andy. I put Hamilton at 7.
You did.
And I believe they're in 7th place. And until they win, nobody can tell me any differently.
Okay.
So there's my power rankings for this week.
All right. Good stuff. Again, you made reference to Touchdown Atlantic really quickly there. Listen, they're still my Touchdown Atlantic team too, but watching Burgundy soar through the air.
That was exciting. That was exciting.
Let me tell you something. I'm back in the bag for both these teams coming to Touchdown Atlantic, and I'm excited for it now.
Anytime a quarterback can jump over a defender to make a play happen, you know that's a quarterback you got to root for.
100%. Okay. Take me through some odds and ends for the week.
All right. Odds and ends. Bo Levi Mitchell, Andy. There could be a quarterback controversy stirring up in Calgary soon because Bo Levi Mitchell was in practice today throwing short, intermediate, and long passes.
So all the passes?
Crisp.
Okay.
Crisp.
Right.
He was hitting all the passes crisp. Arbuckle continued to lead the first-team offense. Dickinson says that Mitchell has not been ruled out for Thursday night's game yet.
Right.
So keep an eye on what's going on in Calgary. And don't forget, all right, I broke the initial news. Now, there's another new podcast that's kicked off, the Rod Peterson Show.
Okay.
He, too, has also talked about this subject. But don't be surprised if the Stampeders are shopping Bo Levi Mitchell to one of these other teams.
So I just want to clarify one thing. Ray just said he broke the news. There was no news.
No, I broke the rumor. I broke the rumor.
Created the rumor.
Created, broke, whatever the case would be.
I don't think there's any quarterback controversy in Calgary. The moment Bo Levi Mitchell is ready to play, they go back to their two-time Grey Cup winning quarterback. Yeah.
What if he drops a game?
Well, we'll see.
All right. Quarterback controversy right around the corner. The Rough Riders have acquired Kenny Stafford from the Edmonton Eskimos for return man Christian Jones.
It's an interesting move. Yep.
Yeah, interesting move.
I like Kenny Stafford.
At the beginning of the year, Harris and Stafford had a good thing going between the two of them. But again, Harris isn't throwing the ball downfield.
That offense is weird, yeah.
Adams Jr., we've already been talking about him on the show, and he is officially ruled out for Friday night's game against Saskatchewan, and that's going to be a good game. That's too bad.
It is way less exciting now, but listen.
But, hey, Pipkin had a full week of practice.
And like you said earlier, Pipkin won the job in camp.
He did.
Let's see. Give him a shot. Yep.
Let's talk some Touchdown Atlantic now, Andy. Here we go. So, two of the major conversation that we've been seeing on social media, our inboxes, on everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the family zone and the fun zone.
Yep.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So, I've been on Ticketmaster and I've read this, and it specifically says family zone - general admission.
Right.
Fun zone - general admission.
Right.
Nowhere in the description does it say general seating.
Right.
It just says admission.
100%.
Okay? So you're getting admission to the game, but in the family zone, you also get a drink and a hot dog to go with it.
A hot dog.
Now, just so you know, in the end zones, there are no seating. The end zones are going to be elevated and sloped, so you will be able to see from the back of the family zone and the fun zone on either side of the stadium. We have put a feeler out to a good source that we have.
Yeah.
And
we can definitely name this source.
Yeah, we can.
Sure. Anthony LeBlanc.
The
soon-to-be owner of the Schooners.
Soon-to-be owner of the Schooners. And we have asked him if camping chairs or beach chairs are allowed to be used inside those zones.
Yep.
And we're waiting for an answer back on that.
Right.
Because the CFL is running the operations for this game, Andy, and it's going to be their call on whether they'll allow those chairs to take place.
Right. But he's reached out, and as soon as we hear back, we'll let people know. We've got folks that are complaining about the general admission and the cheaper tickets. Not going to say cheaper seats.
Yeah.
Not having any seating. Again, I just think, man, some people are just being ridiculous about this. Like, if you've been to sporting events in your entire life, you know what general admission means. If you go on to Ticketmaster and queue up to buy a ticket and there's no seat number, right? That should have been your second clue, though. You never even should have required that.
Yeah.
It's general admission. It's going to be a little fun party zone type place. I think camping chairs would add to the atmosphere and make it a lot of fun for the people in there. But again, I understand the challenges that can impose on security.
Yep.
Camping chairs got pockets, things like that. You probably, security will have to check them all. So we'll see what the CFL comes up with. But again, right from Anthony himself, the CFL is completely in charge of the in-stadium game day experience. They're making those decisions, and he expects a top-notch CFL experience like any other.
There you go.
Yep.
You just took away my next item is the game day experience. Now, I just want to tell you too, folks, that if you haven't been to the field before, under the scoreboard at Medavie Blue Cross Stadium, whatever they call it now, there's a hill. And at the last Touchdown Atlantic, that's where I was working the halftime entertainment show with the kids on the field. So I just sat on the hill. It was a perfect seat.
Yeah.
It was a perfect seat. So you might want to get there early and get set up there with a blanket on the hill. It's great. It's a great spot.
Yep.
Okay, we just talked about the game day experience. We've been told the CFL is going to make sure this is a top shelf event.
Right. And
those words specifically.
Exactly. And, again, all of the people pinging us saying, the Schooners are blowing this and they don't know how to put on a game. Well, just understand that the Schooners are doing their part in organizing this event and bringing by the way, the Atlantic Schooners, Ray, I don't know if you knew this, the Atlantic Schooners are not playing in this game.
They're not, Andy.
There are way too many people continuing to treat this Touchdown Atlantic game and the Schooners finally being granted to Halifax as one and the same.
It's not.
Right. I'm hearing all these people, this game should have been in Halifax. No, there was no place to put it in Halifax. Anybody still saying that makes no sense. Moncton is rebelling because they're not getting the team, therefore the ticket sales are low. No, this is a completely separate event. Anyways, I had to get that off my chest because it's never ending.
I wrote a blog about all the stadiums in Atlantic Canada. I have first-hand experience of being at all these stadiums because I'm an official at the university level. Please feel free to read it, but there's no stadium east of Laval that could have handled this game.
Yeah, that's true. We knew it from the start. So, but again, sorry to finish my point. You can't. The things that are happening game day, the decision not to put up the bleachers in the end zones, various things. It's the CFL's decision.
CFL's decision. One last thing I want to talk about before we get off odds and ends, Andy, and that is the day before the game. I'm going to talk about this a couple times now. We have a soon-to-be very good friend, and his name is Stan Lane.
Yeah.
He is a huge supporter for the Atlantic Schooners, and he's doing everything he can to get the Schooners to come here. And what he has done is on Facebook, there's a Facebook group called Let's Talk Atlantic Schooners.
Yes.
Go check out the Facebook group. Andy and I are in there talking all the time. There's a lot of people that want to see this team come to reality. And on Saturday before the game at 4 p.m.
right
at the Old Triangle, downtown Moncton, there's going to be a Let's Talk Atlanta Schooners Facebook group meet and greet. Have a couple beers.
Yep.
Do some talking. It's going to be great.
Should be a blast. We'll be there. Now, if you go to the group, now write down that date that Ray just mentioned, and we'll get him to repeat it again because Stan is awesome. But one thing Stan struggles at a little bit is creating Facebook events.
Yeah.
I don't think there's actually an event for the time, but you could actually find a pretty great recurring event that starts, I think, at midnight every night between now and the day of the game.
Stan is set up. We are going to party every night at midnight.
I've been showing up there. There's
the next 3
there.
weeks.
No CFL jerseys, nothing.
It's going to be great.
Anyway, repeat the date again, Ray, for this.
It's the 24th at 4 p.m. at the Old Triangle, downtown Moncton.
Saturday. All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll be there. Hope to see you.
That's your odds and ends for this week.
Awesome. Let's go through the picks, Ray. We had a dismal week, so we're going to go through this fast. We both went 0-4. I didn't get my lock. You didn't get your upset. 0-4. Terrible week for us both. That puts me to 20-11 overall in the season, and I'm 4-4 in my locks and upsets. You are 18-13 overall in the season, and you are also 4-4 for your locks and upsets. Let's hope we can do better this week. Last week, you made your picks right on the fly on the show, and I had my picks ready, and neither one of us did any, but I decided to flip it. I'm going to make my picks on the fly on this show.
All right, here we go.
I don't know how you're going to go, but let's start. Thursday, Calgary at Winnipeg. The top two teams in your power rankings. This is a big one.
It's a big one.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Winnipeg's coming back home after a 2-game road streak that did not go well for them. Hopefully they gelled a little bit on it as a team on this road trip, but they're coming home with expectations to win this football game.
Yep.
And I have full belief that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to come out and lay the smackdown on Calgary in this game.
Okay.
And they are my lock of the week to win the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
All right, and I'm going to take Winnipeg too, Ray, though. You're calling it a lock. I am simply picking them because they're at home. I have nothing else going for it at this point. I could easily see Calgary winning this game if we see that same fizzled out Winnipeg offense in this game. Let's hope we don't. Friday, the first game, Saskatchewan comes to Montreal. Like you said, it's going to be an exciting game. Would have been more exciting if Adams was playing, but we'll see what Pickem can do. Where are you going here?
Wow, this is a really tough one. I want to take Montreal so bad in this game. I really do think that Saskatchewan's going to struggle against Montreal's defense. Their defense is exciting, and they got off to a great start this past week against Ottawa until that injury against Adams. I'm going to take Montreal at home in this game. I don't know what to expect from Pickem. The only reason why I'm taking them is because, like we said, Pickem won the off-season challenge to be the number 1 QB.
Yes, he did.
And I expect with a full week of practice, he's going to come out and deliver that ball downfield. And that defense, if it still plays as hot as it is, look out for Montreal.
All right. I'm struggling with this one, too. To me, it's very similar to the first game. I think this could go either way. I'm tempted to go with Montreal simply because they're the home team. Pickem has time to prepare. Full time as the starter. Not that he doesn't prepare like he's going to be the starter all the time. You know that quarterback cliche.
Yep.
But I mean, it's undisputed this time. He couldn't do nothing once he got in the game. He couldn't get the offense going last week. But I will also go with Montreal again simply because they're the home team, hoping for the rebound here.
Okay.
All right. Friday, the second game, Ottawa visits Edmonton. Let's go ahead.
How did Edmonton play on Mike Riley's first game back to Edmonton? They stomped them.
Yeah.
And now Trevor Harris can get out of his funk, get out of that yips mode that he's in to take on his former team of 2018. And I expect Harris and the boys to rebound this week. And I am taking Edmonton over Ottawa.
Okay. I'm taking Edmonton too because I think Ottawa is terrible. I mean, I've talked about it before, and Edmonton's at home, so I am also taking Edmonton. Now, I need to pick an upset, and I considered, well, I've got Montreal over Saskatchewan, and you might be willing to give me that as an upset, but I'm gonna reach. Final game Saturday, BC at Hamilton. I've been saying over and over again that I do not think it's the end for Hamilton. I think they can somehow rally around Evans and turn this into a season still once they get all their players back. I don't know the health status of all those players, but you know what? BC needed a bye. They got a bye. They still have arguably the most talented quarterback in the entire CFL. I am going to pick BC to upset Hamilton at home.
Nice.
Yeah.
I also am taking BC.
Oh, wow.
Brandon Banks is not playing in this game. He is ruled out now. And again, with that rookie or quarterback, the backup quarterback, Dane Evans there, I just don't have the faith in that Hamilton Ticats team. That's why they're 7th on my power rankings. And look, at BC needs to get back into winning. And I think this is a perfect game for Mike Riley to get his team focused and win a game on the road.
All right. If I didn't need to pick a lock this week, I probably would have went with Hamilton, but it is what it is. So once again, we have the exact same picks. So let's hope that means 4-0 for us and not 0-4.
Yeah.
Fantasy. All right. This is the only positive part of this entire show for me. I had my best fantasy week of the season. Like I said, I had Deadman earlier. I had all kinds of players. I finished the week with 117.3 points. That was enough to be the top scorer in both the Schooners and the First Down Sports group. That takes me to 690.7 overall in the season. I am still second in FDS, but gaining on number 1.
Nice.
And that moved me all the way up to 17th in the Schooners group. So I had a huge week. Ray, not so huge. Ray, you had 58 points. I believe last week was that weird thing where you left out a skill player and chose a defense instead. 58 points. That takes you to 593.7. I'm almost ahead of you by 100 points now. So this is really going downhill. 5th in FDS, 37th now in the Schooners group. You need a big rebound, Ray, in fantasy.
I have fallen off the rails fast in fantasy.
Off the rails.
And I feel like I know what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going through right now. I know it. I've been going through it for the last 3 weeks. Last week I got a little fancy and went all in on Winnipeg against the Alouette or against the Argonauts, and that killed me, Andy.
Yep.
Killed me.
Yep.
Although Andrew Harris had a pretty big game.
I had Andrew Harris on my squad too, so
So this week I'm not fooling around. I just set this. I got to look at this a little bit more, but I'm going to spread the money out a little bit more. I'm going Dominic Davis from Ottawa, CJ Gable, Brad Sinopoli, Luke Tasker, Kenny Stafford with his new team.
Okay.
And I got the Edmonton Eskimos defense starting against Ottawa.
Gotcha.
Now, this is subject to change, folks.
It's very fluid.
All right?
Yeah.
I am going to make sure that my fantasy team puts up 100 points this week.
Okay.
Write that down, Andy.
Make sure you keep an eye on the player statuses before the games. Kenny Stafford, like you said, he just moved to a new team.
Yeah.
And, he may not get a lot
May
of
not
players,
dress,
so we'll
yeah.
see. All right. My fantasy squad this week, I'm going with Cody Fajardo at quarterback.
Nice.
Andrew Harris, you got to pick it. He's worth the money in fantasy. He's one of the only superstar, top dollar guys that I find is worth the money in fantasy. So Andrew Harris, I'm going with Terry Williams, the running back of Calgary. I'm going Kyron Moore, the wide receiver in Saskatchewan. I want to pair Fajardo up with one of his receivers. Tavon Smith is my other wide receiver and in my flex spot. Because I think they're going to bounce back huge. And like I said, upset Hamilton, I'm going with your favorite player, Deron Carter.
Nice.
And I'm not starting a defense this week. It's been working out for me, so I've gone back to no defense.
No defense. All right. There you go. That's our picks.
All right, that's our picks, and that's our show.
That's
so if
it.
you're watching this on YouTube, click like or dislike. Doesn't matter to us. Comment. Subscribe if you're not already. And if you're listening on your podcast app, then you're probably already subscribed. So we appreciate it.
Tell your friends about it.
There you go.
Tell your friends about First Down Sports Podcast. Check out our website, firstdownsportspodcast.com.
Yep.
We have lots of great stuff there. We got a couple things coming up in the works this week. I got another blog I'm going to be sending to you for an edit, Andy.
There we go.
And we have fresh stuff all the time for you CFL fans, and we're doing our best to bring you Atlantic Schooner coverage here, and we'll continue to keep doing that.
Talk to you guys next week. Enjoy the game.
Have a great week.